I get a lot of phone calls from people who have tried to introduce a new kitten to their existing cat and things have gone terribly wrong. So I've decided to make this film so that you can watch it and just get a few hints and tips about how to make the introduction and hopefully avoid wherever possible problems from occurring in the first place. Just a few sort of little hints about the process. But before we start, I just want to talk about what a cat is and why these introductions do actually turn out to be slightly not quite as you would have expected in the first place. Cats are not small dogs. They're not automatically sociable creatures. They're not going to embrace a brand new kitten coming through the door, as if it's their new best friend. They are a territorial species, which basically means that they're going to defend what they consider to be their own territory, which is going to be the home around them and all the things that are within that home. So just bringing another cat in and saying, look, here's your new best friend, is not necessarily the best way to do it. So certainly introducing a kitten to your adult cat is going to be a better way than introducing another competitive adult. But there's certainly a way of doing it, and there's a way of doing it so that you can really make that introduction very gradual and not sort of appear to be too threatening. Now, the reason why I've got this pen here is that and Pierre as well, who's going to help me today, is that this is a very useful tool in the introduction process. It enables you to have a confined space. Now, these are just kittening pens. You can sometimes rent these from your vet, or you can purchase them from pet shops at a reasonable sum of money. And they do collapse, so you can move them about the house. But within these pens, once you've lined the base with newspaper, you have a nice soft bed, a litter tray, a water bowl and a food bowl, and some toys. And this pen is where your kitten will be suitably distracted with a bowl of food when you first introduce your cat to the kitten. But you don't even do that straight away. The first thing you need to do is make the introduction very gradually. And it's really scent, sight, contact. So the first thing is you expose your existing cat to the smell of the new cat, then the sight. That's where the pen comes in, so that nobody can harm anybody else. And then eventually contact. So let's just talk about the process. You've got the pen first of all, which is fine, but you need to locate it in a room, because to start with there's not going to be that exposure and the kitten has to get used to you and has to get used to the home as well. So you choose a room within the house that is a room that your existing cat isn't that keen on. Maybe a spare bedroom, or just a room where your cat spends the least amount of time would be ideal. And then that room then becomes the kitten room for the first part of this process. Now, within that room, that's where you put this kittening pen. And you feed the cat inside it, give the cat the water and put the cat's bed inside it with the door open, so that as the kitten plays about in the room, the kitten gets used to actually sleeping in the pen. The pen becomes something secure and familiar rather than something unfamiliar. Once the kitten's used to the pen and having it in the room with the door open, you then want to experiment a few times shutting the door to make sure the kitten's not distressed by that. Once the kitten's settled in for a couple of days and been using the bed, that's where the scent part of things comes in. You would then take that bed, really impregnated with the kitten's smell at that point, and expose your cat to it. Basically put it somewhere within the home where your cat can, in his own time or her own time, explore the bed and just sort of experiment with the scent of the new cat, just sort of, get some information from it. You can also swap food bowls and swap toys and things, and it all exposes your existing cat to the smell of this new kitten. Once a couple of days have gone by, it's worth then experimenting on that exposure. The kitten will have become more relaxed. Your cat will have started to realise that there is a new smell. And particularly if your cat's quite interested as to what they can hear going on in the spare room. At mealtime, which is a very good time to actually try this introduction in the first place, kitten goes in for the food. What you then do is sorry Pierre, it's just shut the door on you. You shut and secure that door. And then you open the door to the room. And that then gives your existing cat the opportunity to come and explore, and again, in his or her own time. Don't lift your cat up and bring it towards the cage. Allow your cat to maintain control over this first meeting. Meantime, Kitten, bear in mind, is distracted by the food that's in the pen. You then get your, hello, you are listening, aren't you? A very good boy. You then take your cat's food bowl with maybe a nice treat meal or something, and actually put a bowl of food down for your cat to actually eat in the presence of the kitten. So there's that nice positive association being created. Now that position is not going to be here. It's not going to be right next to the cage because your cat will have other things on his mind. So you place the bowl as near to the cage as your cat will comfortably eat. And then your cat has the treat there, and that may be enough for him, and then he'll go, and that's the process over for the time being. And then you do that every few hours. The other thing you need to do, once the cat gets used to the kitten being in the pen and being quite close together, is you need to then rotate this pen, bearing in mind these things are collapsible, so you can move them about the house, and actually go through exactly the same process. You can probably get that back yourself, I don't know why I'm helping you. Go through exactly the same process, but in different rooms, so that your existing cat gets used to the idea of the kitten being in other places. Otherwise, he'll get very sort of segregated as that is his territory in the spare bedroom, and your existing cat won't get the concept of him being able to travel throughout the whole sort of territory. Now, this process can take from days to weeks, really depending on the personality of the kitten and the personality of your cat. If your cat is particularly timid or seems particularly reactive to the whole process, then you may want to take a little bit longer to do it. It's really worth taking the time now to make this introduction as gentle and as slow as possible, because if you rush it, then you're going to end up being like all those people who phone me up and say, look, Vicky, I've got a problem and how can I pick up the pieces? We're going to have a look at some kittens and cats who've actually been through this initial process. And we're hoping that in the second film, we're going to be able to show you quite what happens when they meet face to face without the separation of the bars, and precautions you need to take, things you need to look out for and things like that. But this is a very important tool. You wouldn't want to use this if you were introducing an adult cat. We're talking purely about a kitten to one existing cat. Always with that thought in the back of your mind that this has always been your cat's home. Never had to share, never had to share all of those wonderful resources or even you with anything else. And suddenly you're changing, you're shifting the balance a bit. So we just have to be very diplomatic about the whole process. Please subscribe so that you can keep in touch with the other videos and see the other videos in this whole series about how to introduce a kitten to your existing cat. And you'll get a chance to see a bit more of Pierre probably as well.